We're going to go ahead and get started. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first Cyber Thursday. And the title of today's presentation is Cybersecurity Best Practices for Individuals and Small Businesses. My name is Paula McCain. I'm one of the senior business advisors for the North Central Texas Small Business Development Center. I'm not sure if everybody knew, but today is National Bomb Pop Day. You know, the red, white, and blue popsicle sticks. They're perfect for poolside, plus they're only 40 calories. I mean, what more could you want? The SBDC is a leading provider of assistance for small businesses. We are grant funded, and because of that, we can offer our services and webinars such as today's to you at no cost. Just a real quick reminder, we will be recording this webinar and uploading it to our YouTube channel. Today's webinar is interactive, so please feel free to raise your hand using that little small icon at the bottom if you have any questions or comments. Today's presenter is Andy Singleton. Andy is co-owner and principal consultant with CyberTend. He's a very skilled cyber investigator and is adept at forensically collecting, investigating, and presenting findings discovered through all types of sources such as mobile devices, computers, social media, and email systems. Okay, wow, Andy, you're a busy person. Thank you for taking your time. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paula. Looking forward to it. So you want me to go ahead and
yeah, go ahead.
And share my screen here. Okay. Share. I'll move this out of the way.
There we go.
Okay, great. Thanks, Paula, for the introduction. And yes, everybody, Andy Singleton and principal consultant for CyberTend. Been in this space for quite a number of years. And thank you to the SBDC for sponsoring this, and looking forward to other Thursday events. I wanted to do this event. We talked about doing them, a series of them. We've got the series up on the SBDC website. Hopefully you can sign up for additional ones that are coming up. There'll be some good ones on decreasing your digital footprint, which I'm going to weave some of that information in here today. But also about using AI and those sorts of things. I wanted to get this one in before the holidays because the cyber criminal activity really ramps up right before the holidays. Don't think that the cyber criminals around the world don't know when our holidays are. They like to attack us when we have our guards down. Next week's, for a lot of folks, is going to be a holiday week, right? It's 4th of July. A lot of folks are getting ready to take off, starting to travel now and today. I would tell you, I just responded to a ransomware event 2 days ago. So right on cue, right, company called out around here to the DFW area that has a ransomware attack, and their systems are locked down right now. So I'm helping them out with recovery. So I wanted to have this one before the 4th. We won't have one next week, obviously holiday week. And then we have the next one on, I believe it's decreasing the digital footprint. But that's why we wanted to get this one in this week to kind of help everybody out. A little bit about me. I've worked in this industry for a number of carriers for many, many years, over 30 years. I've got a couple of the most sought after industry certifications with the CISSP, CISA. I was heavily involved with the InfraGard, which is a cooperation between private companies and the FBI. Did a lot of meetings down at the FBI building down south of Dallas. But since I moved up to Pilot Point, that's a long way away from me now, so I haven't been involved too much with the InfraGard as of late. It's my family, my son and my daughter, as well as my wife, and that's a picture of us in Hawaii there on the beach there. So what do we do? So our services, briefly, I'll talk about them. So intellectual property theft. So this is when whenever an employee leaves a company and they're gonna go to a competitor and take information. That's a lot of the day-to-day. So insider threats type stuff. And so if you've got those kind of things happening, or you're curious, reach out to me and we can talk about how that works. Business email compromise, ransomware, which I'm working on right now, incident response. We help with that. Identifying source of intrusions, and data recovery. Kind of across the board, we can investigate, a number of devices, mobile, of course, Windows, Mac, Linux, web servers. We have invested in a bunch of commercial platforms, and one of the presentations I talk about, I think in July, a little bit later in July, is a day in the life of a forensics investigator, and I go through some of the tools that we use, because we don't use obviously the same tools and same applications that you would use on the as a non forensics investigator. And we always provide recommendations on findings. So agenda today, I want to do a little bit of overview of common cyber threats, what works and what's tried and true for threat actors, the importance of password management and multi-factor, software updates and patches, some network security, VPNs, and some backup strategies. And we'll weave some more information in here as we go. But and please raise your hand or stop if you want to talk about any of these things as we move along. So still talking about COVID-19 ongoing impact. And the reason is, right, prior to COVID, right, we all went to an office, right? You can think about that from the seat of an IT guy. We're going to an office, the IT guy can protect his castle, right? He can protect the entities that are coming in. He knows that Andy's going to come in, he's going to set his laptop on his desk, and he's going to boot up and access services that he has control of, that he has capabilities to actually monitor and manage easily. With COVID, overnight, everybody went home. And now, you get this IT guy kind of in the middle here, like, oh my gosh, how do I manage Andy that's now sitting at Starbucks, then he's sitting at McDonald's, then he's sitting, in, Europe, and then he's sitting somewhere else. And how do I manage all these people all of a sudden going everywhere? So it's chaos, right? You're trying to, and then for, users themselves, it's trying to understand the threats that might hit them while they're sitting at a Starbucks with their corporate laptop and those sort of things. What could happen there? Or we're sitting at McDonald's at these free public Wi-Fi places, and that machine's going right back into the heart of the network. But this change had to happen immediately, so created a lot of chaos. So in any kind of work, right, any kind of criminal activity, criminal activity really thrives in chaos, right? I think we could probably all agree on that. Criminal activity definitely thrives in chaos. It's no different in the cybersecurity space. So the more confusion, the more activity, the more different components that the IT staff has to look at, or the users, you guys out here, have to think about, and how to manage and how to protect yourself, the better it is for the cyber criminal. They thrive in this, right? So what are they after? So primarily what cyber criminals are after is your personal email. And I would tell you, when I do investigations, my very first search is to find that user's personal email. And why? Well, for me, it can lead to understanding, if they are exfiltrating information, or if they are communicating with the resume out and that sort of thing. For a cyber criminal, right? If I get into your email, 9 times out of 10, your Bank of America, or whatever financial institution, your Amazon, all of those things come into your email, right? You get that information when you placed an order, or sometimes if you've got multi-factor authentication, you might get a code to your email, which is a big no-no nowadays. We'll talk about that in a minute. But because of this, cyber criminals are really after your personal email, because once I get into your email, all bets are off. I can do things like ship out all your emails without you even knowing very quickly. I can pull them all down, is what you see commonly happen. I can set up a behind the scenes, email forwarding, or a CC, or some kind of thing behind the scenes where every email that hits you also CCs the cyber criminal. With that, a lot of times they can reset accounts, right? When you go to reset your email, or reset a login with, say, your bank or your credit card company, the first thing they typically ask is your mobile number, right, to reset it. So they send you a text, or your email is typical. It's typical of a reset. So cyber criminals are after that. And it's financial information as well, and corporate data. Those are the primary targets of these cyber criminals. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on these statistics because I want to get into actual active, things that you can actively do and implement today to help protect yourself. But here's IC3 is a very good resource. If you guys don't know it, it's run by the FBI. This is where you would go report things like ransomware or phishing attacks or things or losses to your business or personal. Now, the FBI doesn't necessarily do anything about it unless there's a certain level. There has to be certain criteria where they'll get involved. But they use it for reporting, and they also use it for trending. It's nice to know if the trend is, a bunch of ransomware is gearing up, so they can help put out bulletins or maybe help the overall. Rather than helping individual entities, right? They can help a broad range of entities if they say, well, we know this version of ransomware is hitting a lot of people right now, so let's focus as the FBI on this area to try to understand what that is and try to help folks resolve that across the board in a broad message. So don't think that you're just reporting it goes into a black hole. It's not. It goes in there as far as statistics, and it goes in there as far as the entity, the FBI entity, understanding what activity is currently gearing up. So it's very important for you to report any incidences always to the IC3. It really, really is. It helps everybody in this whole country, right? It helps everybody, every business. But you can see the ramp up, $12.5 billion losses in this is the last year's IC3 2023 report. It's not trivial, the amount of money that's been stolen from us, right? And this is for me and you, people who are sitting in our seats right now. This is what's happening, and our parents, and we'll talk about that in a moment. What is the biggest source? Very at the bottom, right, is phishing, typically email or SMS text messages or those sort of things. But phishing is just where you try to get control of somebody's account via a fake, the best way to think about it, maybe a fake email like an Amazon. This is your Amazon order. I'm going to show you an example of that in a moment so that you can actually see a breach or a compromise happen that I investigated in real time. And I can show you how fast this happens, and I'll show you that here in a moment. But it's primarily phishing. So always be sure on your email, or if you get a text message, those sort of things, that you know who it's coming from and you understand what you're opening and what you're responding to. That's going to solve, 80% of your problems, right? It's a lot smaller percentage over here on the personal data breaches, extortion, the non-payment stuff, which has to do with various billing or bill back aspects, and then tech support scams, which tech support scams a lot of times hit the elderly a lot. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a moment too. So 2023, things have ramped dramatically right over the years. But look at the 60 plus, and this is definitely for those of us that have parents still around, or you got elderly. They're the target, right? And there's lots of reasons for that. One, they've got money, they're retired, they've typically got a lot of money in the bank that they've worked so hard their whole life to save up so they could live, 65, 75, 85 and enjoy a good retirement and enjoy something. There's people you can't imagine, just people getting their whole life savings wiped out. I don't know if everybody saw in the news, I think last week or the week before, some very kind lady intervened with an elderly person. She had to be probably 70s or 80s, was feeding money into a Bitcoin machine in a convenience store because she thought she had to pay somebody for some reason because she was going to get arrested. She actually called the police, and the police came. They were able to recover her money. She'd loaded $5,000 in there, and she was in the process of loading $40,000 in there, if you can imagine. And this was on the news maybe 2 weeks ago here in Dallas. And that goes a long ways. If you see something, say something, right? So this, just by the kindness of the heart of this lady in a convenience store, you guys have probably seen them out there. There's Bitcoin machines where you can feed in cash and get Bitcoin out. Criminals are using this to steer people to those machines, especially the elderly, to load money up to pay for. You haven't paid your IRS statement, so we're going to come arrest you. You must do it now, and that's usually the way that goes. So if you didn't see that story, it's a great story. The lady was helped by the police, and she got her money back. But the older people are a lot more trusting, right? The younger you are, if you look under 20, 21, and 29, number one, they don't have any money, right? So, when I was in my 20s, I know I was broke. So I'm not really a good target. But as you move up in age, the attacks become bigger and bigger. But if you look at the 39 to 30 to 39 and 40 to 49, the reports are higher than the losses, right? And probably that's because, are they a little smarter? Maybe we're less trusting at this age. I don't know. But I think it's definitely 60 plus, especially the baby boomers and stuff, are a lot more trusting, right, of people. They didn't have people coming to their door and knocking on their doors trying to scam them as they were growing up. Right now, that's everyday events. Everybody's trying to scam you. So watch out if you got grandparents. And I'm going to talk about a few ways you can help here in a moment with some password managers and how I've helped and how you can kind of keep track of your parents or other elderly folks that you may be in the care of or care for, I guess. So I want to talk to you about this for a phishing scam. So this is a standard form that's been out for quite some time that shows you ways you can detect and see if you're phishing. Now the problem is we're all busy, right? Everybody has 1,000 things to do every day, all the time. It's everywhere. I mean, there's not much time that we have individually where we're sitting around twiddling our thumbs thinking, oh, what am I going to do today, right? No, you're busy. So you get these emails a lot of times, and even without thinking, you do that where that says click here, you click there, and you follow those things on the screen. But just take a pause for a second before you ever. Number one, my rule of thumb is never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, click a link in an email. Period. And I don't care if it's from my wife. Maybe she's trying to scam me. But I go to the website. If it says click here, I'm like, okay, where's that going to go? Okay, that's going to go to Amazon. All right, why not just log into Amazon on my web browser and see if that's still there? So one rule of thumb you can make is never click a link in an email. Just don't do it. Same for attachments. Now, I know a lot of us use email to send attachments around. That's pretty standard around for all these years. You say, send me that web file or send me that PDF or send me that Word document. Those are in those files. Just make sure you know where it's come from before you open it, because that's an attack vector as well. Now, one thing that's about Gmail and most mail platforms now put that what I've got in the yellow at the bottom in every email. They look at it and say, okay, be cautious about sharing information because threat actor at bad guys, that's my example, is outside your organization and isn't in your contacts. So that's in almost every email across every platform now. That's automatically added when you get an email that comes into your Gmail and you're maybe about to respond to somebody. And the reason is, right, that word at bad guys, think if that was about Amazon, right? You could change one letter out of there or omit a letter. Criminals, go and will register a domain that's very close, like Arby's.com, and maybe change the R to another A and have AABYS. And you wouldn't really notice, right? As a human, we don't notice. We just kind of move on and think it's that thing. So this is a good thing that's been added. And just take note, always, it doesn't take more than a second just to pause. And let me show you what happens when you don't pause, all right? We're gonna go right into this. So this is a victim that I did an investigation on for a company that I do forensics work for. And I got the machine, and you'll see why here in a moment. So 12:14 at 26 seconds, 26 seconds past the hour, victim opening email with Amazon order of XXXX. If they would have looked at the from, they would have seen it wasn't from Amazon. They didn't take a time to look and see who it was from. There was a link in that email, just like I showed you before, that redirected them to Amazon support via Google Hangouts. So that should be clue number 2. Amazon was actually using a Google Hangout in this instance. Would Amazon really do that? Probably not. So they went ahead and did that. And the threat actor, and these are actual screens that were up. So they clicked that Google Hangouts, and this actual screen in the lower left said Amazon support. That's when they went to that. And that was then redirected to this right side, this welcome to our online remote support portal. This was actually what was on the user screen when they were clicking through this, okay? They had this user click this little link, and if they would have looked in the address bar, they would have seen alogin01.to, which that little red thing right there in the above the second box. That should have been another clue. So they said they want to download this as special file. So here's what happened. So the victim downloaded a file from Amazon support called support.client.exe. which was actually a remote desktop application. If you don't know what a remote desktop application is, it means it's an application where if I click it and open it, and it's used for support, right? It's a legitimate application. So you call IT and you say, hey, I'm having a problem with my Word document or my printer, whatever. And they say, okay, let me get a remote desktop to you, and they may have you execute something to fire up your remote desktop, so they can then see exactly what you're seeing on the screen. So criminals have access to the same technology, right? There's GoToMeeting, there's Team Viewer, there is GoToMyPC. There's all of these things that are out there on the market that the criminals, and that's tons of them that aren't even brand name. If the cyber criminals, all they got to do is get you to execute it, and then they can get access to your desktop, just as if your IT was. So don't ever do that. So don't click on anything or run or download anything for support. So that was, if you look at the time there, we're at 12:23 and 42 seconds, 12:22. So we're about a minute later. They clicked on it. This fired up a hidden remote desktop connection to the victim's computer. And what that means is, some of you that have gotten support from your IT staff, they'll say, well, fire me up a remote desktop. And while they're in there, you can see your mouse moving on its own, right? And you can see them doing things. So they're actually on the same screen as you. There is absolutely a way to do it where they're getting the screens that you're seeing, but you don't see the mouse movement. So it's a hidden remote desktop. So it's behind the scenes. So they're working on your machine, but you don't even know it. And because your mouse is not moving, they've got control of it, just the same exact screen that you're maybe looking at, but a different view of it. So this was a hidden remote desktop. So very quickly, what happens? So the threat actor logs into Amazon account. They set up, navigates the victim's Amazon payment setup and grabs a credit card and credit type stored in the Amazon. So that's the first thing they grab. They ordered Bed Bath & Beyond gift cards for email delivery. They go to the Gmail account, set up an email forward to their account. Remember, that's what I said. They got control of the email. And they're doing all this, you can think about it, because they're actually on that victim's machine, right? They're actually on it. They log into Target and orders Home Depot gift cards. They try to log into the victim's PayPal and do a password recovery. They do a $45 Nintendo gift card with Amazon. They try to log back into PayPal account, but they block because, thank goodness, the person had two-factor authentication, which we're going to talk about in a minute, so they didn't get into their financials. Multi-factor is so important in this instance, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that here in just a moment. But the threat actors, because of this, they had access to her accounts, but because they didn't have that second factor, which was probably a text to her phone, they couldn't reset her PayPal. They did get into Target, order some additional gift cards. They logged back into Amazon, ordered additional gift cards. So at 12:45, the victim closes support.client.exe and severing the connection to the threat actor and freaks out. So that is if you look at the time, the start time of this from when they clicked support.client.exe is 12:23:42, and 22 minutes roughly, they had their life turned upside down just because they didn't pause for a second. They contact their HR department, and here's what happens. Here's the consequences for that victim. And that was an actual instant response. That was my instant response that I did to one of my large customers. The reason they sent it to me was because they wanted to make sure the threat actor didn't exfiltrate any of their corporate IP. If the threat actor had known what company they were actually in and been sophisticated, it could have been a lot worse, because it was a large pharmaceutical company. And it could have been very, very ugly for that business that I do work for. So I got the laptop. So the user goes and reports it. HR confiscates your laptop. They send it to me. The user gets mandatory user awareness training. Now, they're not blaming the user. We don't ever want to blame the user. This is just a slight mistake. But again, as an IT folks in this field, you're like, just pause for a second before you click that Amazon thing. Just take a pause and make sure that's legitimate, because for the employee, once I cleared the IT staff and the company, I'm saying, yeah, there was no corporate IP out of the company. This is what happened. They were after that user's financial information. The employee then had to replace all their credit cards. They called Amazon fraud. They called Target fraud, PayPal fraud, contact credit bureaus on identity theft, change passwords for all their sites. and likely ongoing monitoring for 3 to 6 months. So because of that 22 minutes of lack of letting your guard down, this is the problems that the employee had to go through. So a lot of you hopefully probably have never seen what an actual incident response kind of summary report looks like, but that's what it looks like for this particular one. And as we move along, I'm happy to ask any questions. As you go, just jump in if you got any questions on anything. But this is what happened to that user. So, how do cyber criminals get in? You let them in. The users, us users, me too. All of us, we let them in. There's no magic thing that just where you're walking down the street with your laptop and all of a sudden your laptop's compromised and you didn't do anything. That's not really possible. There are certain super advanced things if you're like the president of the United States or you are very, very, very important, incredibly wealthy person where you need to take other precautions, which I do work with folks like not the president, but I do work with some very wealthy folks that have to take additional precautions because they are targets to some very advanced scamming techniques. But for 99% of us out here, that's not us. That's not us. It's these criminals are opportunistic, right? So they need your cooperation to get in because they don't have these tools that would necessarily target somebody, that's not making, not a billionaire, right? And none of us on this call are. So you let them in. So the big thing to do is if something happens, you suspect something happens, you need to call your IT support immediately and don't be embarrassed to tell them the full story. I mean, do as quickly as possible. Shut your machine down. If do that. A lot of times that may not even stop it. It depends on what's happened, right? But at least, shut the machine down and get a hold of your IT staff and talk to them as quickly as possible and be completely honest with them because they're going to need this information so they can take appropriate action very, very quickly. Okay. All employees use a corporate computer for personal stuff. I do too. So Amazon, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and so forth. So that puts, and that's part of the IT staff like myself and others in this IT business that we understand this and know this, but it also puts more of the corporate information at risk. And so that's part of that chaos that we have to deal with because we all do. All of us use Facebook or these kind of personal apps on our personal laptop for the most part. Now, I'm a very strict person myself, I'll tell you myself on my work machine is my work stuff and that's 100% it. My personal machine is my personal stuff. I don't intermingle the two, but that's just because I'm an IT and because I understand the consequences. But 99% of the folks out there, all of us use personal stuff on our corporate computers, and it's just the way it is. So this is maybe a message for anybody that's managing IT out there. Don't put your employees in a situation where they're intimidated or scared to come to you because they clicked something they shouldn't have using a personal application because we all do it. Know how to spot a phishing and social engineering scam. Okay, use two-factor authentication. And I'm going to harp on this a few times, but multi-factor, I know it's a pain in the butt. And everybody here is like, why can't I just go put my new username and I want to put my email in, I want to put my password in, and I've got 3 passwords. That's all I ever use. Okay, I know I'm speaking to a lot of folks out there. I got a hard one for my bank stuff. I've got a medium one for, I don't know, Facebook and stuff. And then I got an easy one that I remember for all the stuff I don't care if it gets compromised. Or I've got a Word document on my machine that I've got all this stuff written down. I pull up that Word document or I pull up that note and I've got my emails or I got my login information and passwords for all these sites. So just assume that your password has been compromised. That's what you need to think. Yes, that's the posture you need to really put yourself in, is assume that the criminals know your password to log into Bank of America. They know your password to log into Amazon. They know it. If you turn on two-factor authentication and you're getting a text message to your phone, not your email, please do not send that second factor, that code to your email. Send it to your phone at a minimum. There's other authenticator apps that I'm more in favor of that are like the old RSA key that have a number that's generated that use, there's Google Authenticator and there's Microsoft Authenticator, there's some other ones, but at a minimum, have that second factor sent to your mobile device as a 6-digit code or whatever the case may be. And like I said, it's a known pain in the butt, but if you think about it from the perspective of the criminals, they absolutely have your password. Don't kid yourself. They've got your email, they got your password. They're going to try to log into Amazon or these other ones. If you have that second factor, it's 99% chance that there's no way they can get in, right? They can't get in, they'll be stopped. And you'll probably get a text message saying, somebody tried to log into your account. Now, the nice thing is, even if a lot of the users out there, aren't tech savvy enough to know where to go set these things up in Facebook, or no tech savvy enough where to navigate to your bank and set up multi-factor. Most of the banks and Facebook, for sure, Google, Gmail, and that sort of thing, force it no matter whether you want it or not. So you'll get like Gmail, if you don't have multi-factor turned on to your mobile device. Some of you may have seen before where you try to log into Gmail on a new account on a new system, and it says, please open YouTube on your mobile device, and click the OK button, or click the it's me. So they're doing some really good things on that because they know it's so bad out there. Please, that's a big reason to use multi-factor. And I think I'll talk about it a little bit more in a couple of slides here. But it is inconvenient. I understand that, and we all understand that. But it's a second layer of security that, if you just have that one simple thing, then you're going to avert probably 95, 99% of the of attacks against your accounts that you have online, right? They're not going to be able to get in. And guess what? The bonus is you're going to know somebody's trying to get in, because you're going to get a text message that says, hey, you're trying to log into Bank of America, here's your 6-digit code. You're going to be like, I didn't do that. Well, then your account's being attacked, and maybe you can call, or make sure your passwords are changed. You only get that text message if there was a username and password successfully put in, right? So then well, crap, I need to go change my password. And we're going to talk about password management here in a little bit, because there's a way that with some software here that I'm going to show you, where you don't have to worry about understanding, remembering, and for everything that's holy, not writing it down on notes on your local machine. I see that all the time in my investigations, where people have hundreds and hundreds of www.bankofamerica.com, username Andy@cyber10.com, password 123456, and it goes on and on and on and on all the time, and on these machines that I investigate. That's very common. There's no need to do that nowadays. There's applications for that. The one I use is 1Password, and I'm going to talk a little bit about 1Password in a minute. Fake support. This one gets folks a lot, and I'm going to show you some screens on this, what this looks like. You haven't been infected by a virus. So let's go on to that one. Phone calls and SMS text messages, they get in with this as well. So I'm going to talk about phone calls and a current Facebook trend on threats right now, and SMS texting, some threats that are coming right now to get around that two-factor. And my son actually fell for it a few weeks ago, and I was a bad IT guy. I said, how could you? You know what I do for them. Why didn't you come talk to me? How could you do this? He fell for it. So I'm guilty as well, as kind of lost my temper with him. And I settled down and said, okay, sorry. That was very convincing. I'm going to show you what that looks like and how to stop it. But this one here, I'm sure everybody's seen this. You get this pop-up that says, will you allow Facebook to send notifications, right? Allow notifications or not now. What this means is, are you allowing that Facebook, we used to call it pop-ups, and then we all put pop-up blockers, right, on our machines, so we'd stop pop-ups, right? Everybody kind of remembers that, has been around the computer and around computers for any length of time. So now Google Chrome and all these other browsers like Microsoft and Firefox, all of these have this little box that prevent, the applications or the websites typically got a request, hey, can I send you notifications, yes or no? And that's the normal box in the upper left-hand corner. That's the legitimate box. If you click allow, what that means is now that website can now pop a message to your screen. And you might want that, right, for Facebook. If you say, hey, I've got a new Facebook like, right, you may want that to pop on your screen. I personally don't, but some of you may. I do allow, say, for example, Google. So I allow Google notifications from Gmail. So whenever I get a new Gmail, my desktop pops and says, hey, you got a new mail, right? That's all legitimate. So you click allow, that you're saying allow notifications. Some bad sites, and this is how folks on the right, this is very, very, very common. and a very low tech, low capability type attack. This happens all the time, and I think this is the attack that they used on the movie Beekeeper. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that or not yet, but I believe this is the one where the lady got that pop up. My mother-in-law did this when she was around. Unfortunately, and my sister did this as well. And this was a pop-up for McAfee, right? We've probably all seen that. A pop-up, okay, your system may be infected with a virus. Please call blah, 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 blah. Well, she ended up spending $500 to get a McAfee antivirus installed on her machine. And through that whole process, they got remote access to her computer, and they downloaded her files and downloaded her data and all of that stuff. You don't have a virus. This is not a virus. You've just accidentally clicked allow. What the nefarious ones on the bottom, that click allow if you're not a robot, that one's one that's been going around for quite some time. And so on those cases like this, the upper left one, right, is legitimate, typically from Google, right? That's a Google one. These ones in the bottom and the ones on the right, even too, that thank you, congratulations. So I want you to take a pause for 1 second and think about being a bad guy, right? How would I get Andy to click on something that would allow me to pop something? Well, what if I made both those buttons allow notifications and not allow notifications, both of them, no matter what Andy clicks, I want to get to push notifications. How do you know that both of those buttons aren't allow notifications? Just close out the window. Don't even just hit the X or click away from it. Don't click anything in that window. You've gone to a website that this little robot guy's popped up. Don't click on allow notifications or not allow. Don't click on nothing. Just click away from it, okay? Same with the left. It says your system is heavily damaged by 4 viruses, right? Repair fast now. Don't click that button. Just close the window. Just close it. Don't click anything in the window. Don't click a link in the window. Don't click a yes. Don't click a no. On this one, don't click a male or female. What does that male and female button actually do, right? You can program anything behind the scenes as someone doing something bad, right? I can program whatever I want in that window, right? As a bad guy. So I want you to think about this from a bad guy's perspective. Male may be, I'm going to send you notifications. Female may be, I'm going to send you notifications. So it doesn't matter what you click. As long as I can get you to click inside my box, then I'm going to get to be able to pop that screen in the upper right. And if I can get you to call me, if I do this, 1,000,000 times, maybe I can get, 1,000 people to call me. And guess what? I'm one heck of a business. I've got a great business as a criminal, people buying my McAfee antivirus. That's a very, 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 this is very typical. If you see this, you have not been affected with the virus. I'm going to show you how to fix it on this next screen. So here's how you fix it. This is my browser right here. So you go to in your Google Chrome, and this is what I wanted to make sure everybody understands. I always want to try to show you things, but I want to show you specifically the most common things and how you can fix them. If you go to your privacy and security settings in Google Chrome, that's the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner that you would have. Go to privacy, security, notifications. You'll see in the bottom it says, first see that where it says I've got highlighted allow to send notifications, Google Calendar. Calendar.google.chrome:443. That means I'm allowing my Google Calendar to send me a little pop-up when I get calendar notifications. And you can see I'm not allowing Facebook or YouTube. I don't want Facebook every time somebody likes something to jump out at me, or YouTube every time somebody posts a new stupid video to pop up on my screen, right? I don't want that. So I actually specifically added those myself to prevent those pop-ups. I got tired of seeing them. And by default, I set sites automatically follow the settings when you visit them. And that default behavior, I always default mine to don't allow sites to send notifications. I don't want to send the notifications that Napa Auto Parts has a new part in for me, because they all want to send you notifications, right? It's advertising. They all want to send you notifications. Napa, Kroger, Target. It can get out of control where all you got is pop-ups on your screen. So this is a very simple thing to solve. If you don't have a virus, go to these settings. If you use Edge or you use Firefox or some other browser, just do a search of how to stop desktop notifications, and it'll lead you to the setting on your browser. My wife got this a while back with McAfee, and the problem is, if this happens with you, right? This happens with you. It's persistent, right? So you click allow notifications, and now that notifications, so you reboot, you're like, shoot, I must have actually did something. Let me reboot. Your machine comes right back up, and that stupid McAfee McAfee box pops right back up on your screen. You're like, dang it, I must have a virus. Well, shoot. Well, now I better call them. If you were thinking that way. No. You've got them, and that allowed to send notifications. Thing. All you got to do is go in here to delete it, and then that's gone. You're not going to get that notification anymore. So very practical. This is incredibly common. Incredibly common. I would guarantee almost everybody has been hit by this and get that pop up on McAfee, or you're getting pop-ups you don't want. This is how you solve it right there. So that's something you can do today to help cut back your notifications. And like I say, I don't allow notifications for hardly anything because I don't like things popping up on my screen when I'm working. And this is a way you stop it through your browser specifically, right? There's other ways to stop it on your desktop, but this attack that I'm talking about is typically against your whatever browser you're using. Everybody cooking along okay with that? Good. So that's something you can do. So let me talk to you about this because this happened to my son. He's a nurse. He's a 30-year-old nurse that's a traveling nurse now, and he was home getting his RV ready to go. And he was selling some stuff here at the house on Facebook Marketplace. So what's the attack vector on this? So you post something. Let's just say I've got a pair of shoes. I'm selling a pair of shoes, and somebody's interested and said, "Hey, can you send me your mobile number so that I can get a little bit more information on the shoes? I want to talk to you a little bit about the shoes." And you're like, "Okay, fine, whatever. I'll send you my mobile number." You send it to them. And then the attacker says, "Hey, I need to verify you're human. I'm not sure you're human. You may be a bot trying to sell those shoes. I'm going to send you a 6-digit code to verify that you're a human. And I'm going to need you to read that code back to me so that I know you're a person, okay?" And so you say, "Okay, fine. I'm really selling this thing. It's fine. I'll verify for you that I'm a human." Well, guess what? That's not what's going on. This is attacker resetting some account that they've got for you. So they've gone and looked at your Facebook, they find your email or your user ID or something, and they trying to reset an account for you. And that 6-digit code you just got was texted to you from, let's just say Gmail or from Facebook to verify your identity. And that's the threat actor actually trying to log in at that time to your Gmail or to whatever account they're trying to reset. In my son's case, it was his bank account that they were trying to log into. And because what the criminals will do, you think about millions of people. So all around the world, right, you're being attacked from folks from whatever there is, 300 million, I don't know how many people are on the planet, several hundred million people, whatever it is, whatever the population is approaching. But there's people in all of these countries that there's millions and millions of folks trying to attack. And so, you can sit around and let's just pick on Romania. I can pull up Facebook Marketplace in Romania and look for things for sale and Pilot Point where I live, or Denton. And then I can say, okay, well, Philip has something for sale. Let's see if we can figure out some more information maybe on what Philip's accounts are, where he uses business. All those things are for sale. So I got nothing better to do, and I can make some money by doing this, and somebody's going to click and hit. So that's how that attack works very specifically. So the point here is, if you ever get a 6-digit code sent to your text and somebody asks you for that text, don't ever give it out. No bank, nobody. That's always a scam. 100% of the time, if you get a text message on your phone and you are asked to give that to somebody else, especially if you're to confirm you're a human, that's a scam. Okay, that is a scam. Facebook overpayment and shipping scams. So again, how to protect yourself. So this is a case where a user says, "Yeah, I want to buy it, and I want you to ship it to me, and I'm gonna go ahead and pay you. And your shoes were $10. Oh, I accidentally paid you $1,000. Dadgummit, that's bad on my part. Well, I'm a nice guy. Will you return me that $1,000, Andy? Oh, sure. Sorry about that. I'll return the $1,000 to you. And so I ship that back to you. And then you ship me the you pay me the right amount. They can reverse that transaction, right? So they've sent me $1,000 from their account to me. Then I, from my account, send back to them $1,000. So that's a separate transaction, right? So they get $1,000, and they reverse their original transaction with their bank, and they get their original $1,000 back. That's that overpayment and shipping scams. That's exactly how that works. So if you sell something, on Facebook or any other place where you've got to ship it, and they accidentally sent you $1,000 or whatever the number may be rather than your $100, and they say, hey, can you return that to me? We're all nice folks and honest. We're like, heck, of course, I know you probably just had an extra zero. I could have done the same thing. It's a scam. Okay, it's a scam. You're about to lose that money because they're going to reverse that chart, or they're going to reverse that payment to you, because that payment to you from them is still in your account, right? Yes. If I can reverse that with Cash App or with USAA, with Drive Bank, or any number of things. I can reverse that within, say, 48 hours or whatever the time frame may be. So I can reverse that original. So I've just got my $1,000 back, and plus you sent me $1,000. That's how that scam works. Exactly how that works. So be careful about that. Okay. TikTok and Instagram. These are very common. Again, you get links or links to videos or false fake information that sends you to sites where there's supposedly interesting information about you that maybe asks you for personal information or login information. That's pretty common on TikTok and Instagram. Not near sophisticated. The Facebook stuff is a little bit more sophisticated because of the marketplace and the overpayment and that sort of thing. But there's still all of these other attack vectors that are common in Facebook. This is another one, Vimno, just like the Facebook reverse transaction, Vimno and Cash Apps. Money shows up in your account, and again, the user calls and says, hey, Andy, I did not mean to send you $100. Please send that back. I meant to send that to Sally. And you return the money, then they reverse the original payment, okay? So be very, 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 very cautious if that kind of activity shows up. It is going to be 99% a scam. Okay. Now, legitimately, if you sell something on Facebook or you sell something, somebody certainly could with their Cash Apps put an extra zero in, and it's not $10. They send you $100. But use your judgment and use your common sense. Maybe you say, yes, I'll send that back to you, but let's wait 48 hours or 72 hours to make sure the time has popped where they can't reverse that transaction anymore. If you're unsure, just wait. If they start getting aggressive and getting upset about it, then basically, then it is something. I mean, it's risky for the attacker, right? But it's I would tell you 9 times out of 10, when people don't know about this. I mean, I'm a nice guy. I would, if I didn't know anything about this or didn't understand how this attack worked, and we're not thinking like a bad person, and Susie over in Corinth or something bought my shoes from me for $10, actually paid me $100, I would go ahead and return her $100 right then. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, Susie, I'll also return your $90. I'm sorry about that. That's not a problem. And then now that I'm upside down $100 on those shoes I wanted to sell for $10. That's how that works. But again, if you say, okay, yeah, I understand, let's wait 48 hours or till make sure you understand when that timer expires to when that reversal can happen, then you can return the money to that attacker, okay, or to that person. And if they're legitimate, if they accidentally legitimately did it, I would just explain to them, yeah, this is a common attack thing. I've been told about it, and I'm being cautious. I'll return your money to you in a couple of days, and you'll get it back, but I'll return it to you. If they're legitimate, they should understand that. If they're criminals, they'll start screaming at you immediately, want you to return that money immediately, and then okay. Those are some very, very common attacks that are going on right now. Like I say, the pop-up was hit my wife a few weeks ago. The Facebook one hit my son a couple of weeks ago, which I lost my temper with him, and I shouldn't have. So I was the bad IT guy. But and then this one I've seen happen a lot here lately on personal attacks. Okay. And this is why I want you to understand that your password's been stolen. Okay. In the upper right-hand corner, I say I have a list of 100,000 users of password combo on the dark web. I haven't checked this in a long time, so this is old. It's probably cheaper than that. It's $12. So these passwords, all these breaches, the AT&T, and everybody knows, and I'll show you, there's some resources, links in here. You can go haveibeenpawned.com and some things you can put in your email, and it lists all of the places where your email was compromised, and what was compromised. Was it your username, your password, your social security number, your account number, your health information, all of that stuff is listed right there as part of the disclosure, right? It's a very legitimate site. It's called Have I Been Pawned? And you put in your email. And there's other things you can look at, your passwords and stuff. It's a legitimate site. And you can see where you're all breached. We've all been breached, all of us, 100%. Everybody on this planet could have your password and username if they wanted it. Like I say, a list of 100,000 combo usernames and passwords going for $12. There is what's called a FOLDS. It's name, social security number, date of birth, driver's license, background, and credit address for $14.50 per person. Those are for targeted attacks. I can go buy that against targets on the dark web right now, and that's the cost of it. So if I wanted to target somebody wealthy, that's why the wealthier folks or the folks that might be CEOs or C-level of companies, they absolutely positively have to take additional precautions that most of us that are poor, like me, or just a normal, I'm just a regular old Joe, don't have to take, right? There's different cautions based on your risk and your attack surface, which we're going to talk about that in 2 weeks, is how to reduce your attack surface. Hope everybody's able to join that one. But this is how fast you can crack passwords. So usually this user password combos, what you get is you get the I'm not, without getting technical, I'm just going to call it the encrypted password, right? You get this password that's gibberish. So it says Andy@cyber10.com, and with a little bit of text after this is gibberish. I can decrypt that that gibberish after that. And like I say, I'm not going to get technical on what exactly that is, but this is how fast that you can have those. You can decrypt that list of 100,000 names, and this is the link to the passwords. And so, like I said before, what I see all the time, and I know people on this call are going to have it as well. They have either 3 passwords they use constantly, or they use the same password all the time. They just add a 1 or a 0 at the end. So whenever IT forces them to change it to something else, they change it to, singleton 1, singleton 2, singleton 3, singleton 4, singleton 5, and get away with it. Those passwords are incredibly easy to attack and decrypt. This is from 2022. As machines get faster, it's super easy. So this is what I want you to assume, that your password is not safe, period. That's why you must use multi-factor on everything. And again, I know it's a pain in the butt. I know whenever I go to log into Marriott, or I go log into Bank of America, or whatever the case may be, and I've got to sit there and it says, please enter the 6-digit code that we just sent to your mobile device. Why can't you just take my username and password? This is costing me an extra few seconds. It's a pain in my butt. This is why. If you do the multi-factor, there is probably a 99.9% chance that you're not going to have that account cracked, unless you are accidentally or through a attack, give it out to somebody. That text message was just sent to you. That's why I say don't ever give any 6-digit number that's ever sent to you. Don't read that back out to anybody ever, under any circumstances. Okay, but this is why you do multi-factor. And all this is every bank, every company on the planet now, your company that you work for, if they don't, they need to have it, especially for remote access. If you're logging into your machine remotely, or you're logging into your business remotely, if you have employees working remotely and they're kind of logging in and getting into your systems, you must have 2-factor. You must have it set up to where at a minimum a text message is sent to their phone to confirm it's them. Because I promise you, your username and password is compromised 100%, no questions. Okay, and this will stop that. What's been happening here lately, since the first you talk about iterations of crimes and how it moves through time, right? So the first thing is we all have usernames and passwords. That's easy, right? We don't even know about this multi-factor thing. We don't, that was years ago. We don't know about it. So the criminals got real privy of that and were able to very quickly break into stuff. So we're like, oh, in this whole industry, heck, what do we got to do? Well, we need to do something. So let's do multi-factor authentication, and let's send a 6-digit code back to a person's email, to Andy@cyber10.com. So that was phase 2 of security, right? Phase 1 was username and password. So the criminals broke that. Phase 2 was to send it to your email. So now the criminals want your email so they can get your codes. Phase 3 is let's send it to our mobile device. Well, Phase 3 issues are happening right now, and that's where I get a cloned SIM card. And so, or I call you and try to talk you out of giving it to me. So the criminals know that you're getting a text message. 99% of us do text messages to our phones, and get text messages for access to sites. So they're going to call you and try to get that out of you, or sadly, if you're a high value target, um, even a lower value target, there's some methods now where some security needs to be tightened up with the mobile providers where SIM cards are being cloned, where I'm not going to go through the whole process of how it happens, but where your phone is not even a safe to get a text message to. Now, you would know it if you're SIM, so I would say 99.9% of the folks on this call, you'll never have this issue, but I have run across it with a couple of clients where they had their SIM card cloned, and basically means my phone number now shows up in 2 different devices on the network. Say it's on, let's just pick on T-Mobile or somebody like that. I activate my device and I have a SIM card. That SIM is tied to my phone number. And then I go over here to threat actor. I know you're on T-Mobile, so I activate another SIM card over here that's got your same number. There's lots of things that go on in between that I'm not going to talk about. But now I get the same text messages you're receiving, and so I can get your text message. Typically, what that's after is that multi-factor. So then we need to move to Authenticator app. Okay. That is like, if everybody remembers kind of back in the day, if you worked at a higher security company where you had RSA keys, where you had a little thing, a key fob that had a little number that popped up, on your phone as you went along. Those are all virtual now, and they're called authenticator apps. So what that looks like, I want to show you. Let's see if I can show you a screen that maybe doesn't have anything on it. Let's see. But maybe I'll do this. Kind of like this, maybe show that a little bit. But that's my Google Authenticator app. And so there's several items in here that are blinking numbers that count down after a few seconds. If you look here, you can kind of see where maybe where those numbers are counting down, and they'll change. But it's basically like the RSA key. It'll count down after 30 seconds, and that 6-digit number, and then they'll change. It rotates. So that's tied specifically to this mobile device. So for very, very high important things that need to be highly secure, I use Authenticator. So Google Authenticator. It's very simple to set up. You scan a QR code. If I want to add a new one, the sites will have it. It'll say scan QR code. You may not be able to see it, and I apologize because I got that background on. But that's the next step that we need to do. I would do that for bank institutions, that sort of thing, because the attacks, the reason that these multi-factors are being attacked now is because that's the way most of us are doing multi-factors to a text message to our phone, and that's why the Facebook attack that I talked about earlier on selling goods, prove you're human, and those kind of things are happening because the threat actors are trying to reset accounts for you. And just because, again, I want to make sure that didn't slip by anybody, just because that person notified my son via the Facebook Marketplace app, right? And we're sending him a 6-digit code. That was not to get into his Facebook account. That was actually to get into his bank account. So they had figured out that he banked with USAA. It's where we bank, former military, and they were trying to log in to his account and trying to reset it, and they needed that 6-digit code to reset it. Okay. So just because it's coming from Facebook doesn't mean that's what they're trying to reset. They're probably, if they're smart, they're probably have figured out, where you bank or that sort of thing. If you've got something for sale, and that's how that multi-factor on your mobile device 9 times out of 10 gets compromised. Is that second factor? SIM cloning is very, very, very uncommon right now, and the carriers are really tightening things up to where this doesn't happen as often. But I would tell you, there's a story out there about the guy that did Dogecoin. If you guys know what Dogecoin is, it's kind of a crypto coin. It was kind of a funny thing that happened back in 2017, 2018, I believe, or somewhere around in there. Anyway, he'd gone to a cryptocurrency conference in New York and gone into an affiliate store of a large carrier, AT&T. It's public information is out there. It wasn't a official AT&T store, as I understand it. It was one of these other sub stores that sell for AT&T, or they sell for Verizon, they sell for others. They just happen to sell for AT&T. It was a criminal ring. They recognized who it was and understood how much he was worth. And I think they stole, I want to say $12 million from him before he even knew it happened, because they got his phone from him. They cloned his SIM, gave his phone back, or he got an upgraded phone. And they had cloned everything on his phone to reset accounts for him. And there was a major lawsuit. If you go out there and look at Dogecoin, search for Dogecoin, guy sues AT&T for loss, probably. Or I can send you, if everybody's really interested in reading that article on what happened, I can send you the link. But that's what I'm talking about, high profile folks. If you're a C-level with a lot of money, then definitely you need to talk to somebody about extra protocols to protect yourself, because you are definitely a target. If you've got a sizable amount of money, or a company, you probably are a more advanced target for thieves. And you're thinking, well, why? I'm one of so many. Well, there's millions and millions and millions and millions of people on the planet, right? And they're all targeting somebody. And why not start with the big, probably the most the wealthier folks, right? Okay. Let's not stop enough on that. One of the things you need to do in your business is restrict local administrator accounts, okay? And this is why. I give this analogy. If you imagine you have a car and you give everybody in your family car keys, and nobody knows actually how to drive the car, but you've given them full rights to run the cars. Who knows what they're going to do with it? They may wreck it. Similarly, I don't even log into my local machine myself as administrator privilege. And the reason is, I want a box to pop up on me. If I try to do something as an administrator, right, I want a box to pop up on my screen that says, hey, Andy, do you want to allow this application to make changes to your registry? Or you want this application to actually install? I want to see that pop up. I don't want to have it where I'm always an administrator and anything goes on my machine. So if you're a small business out there, do not give all of your users local administrator rights on their local machine. Do not do it. If they need to install specific services or specific applications, have them run it through your IT department, or have them run it through you if you're the business owner. If it's legitimate, you can get it on there. But this will stop ransomware in a lot of cases, right? Because what happens is ransomware and a lot of this malware needs the ability to install an application on the machine. If you do not have local administrator rights, it will fail that install. And so it won't wreck your business, right? I've got the analogy there. It'll fail. So, but if you've given everybody, and I know it's simpler, right? This is one of those things that goes back to, well, it's just simpler. If people want to install whatever they want to install, local application or games or whatever on their machine, I don't care. I don't want them bothering me. Okay, yeah, that's easier. But you're taking a risk, because now you've given them rights to put whatever they want to on that local machine. So do not give if you're a business owner, do not give your users local administrator rights at all. They don't need it. I don't need it for day to day. I don't even have it on my machine I'm talking to you on right now. I do not give myself administrator rights. I have to put in my administrator login name and password if I'm going to do something that requires administrator credentials. That's not hard to do. It's a little bit inconvenient, but it will save your life if you get something like ransomware. Okay, harden your business. So this is some practical, and I'll speed up a little bit, but I want to make sure you understand how to protect your business very easily here. Just take a 100,000-foot view of your business and just think about all the things that could hit your business, and understand how would business be if this was taken out? Would it be out of business? Would you be shut down, or would you be impaired, or would it be a non-event? So you need to prioritize those things and harden them appropriately. So it's very simple. I use SAP, or I use QuickBooks, or I use PeopleSoft, or I use Salesforce. Make sure you understand, if I didn't have access to SAP anymore, is my business shut down, or am I impaired? And what steps would I need to take if I needed to restore something like that? And then you need to take the appropriate action to put the right amount of security around it, because you don't need to wall up a castle around every little bitty thing, right? But you need to understand what are your business critical applications, and there's only going to be 2 or 3. And just make sure you protect those things. Make sure you protect those. And this is how you do it. I love this from the Australian government. It's called the Australian Cybersecurity Essential 8 security controls. These are just 8 things 8 things that you got to do as a small business that will make you probably 95% chance of not being taken out by a by ransomware, by a cyber attack, by anything like that. And I'm going to go through them and just talk about what each one of these are real quickly. Application control. Make sure that you don't give your users local administrator rights. Make sure that you understand what applications are deployed, and make sure you're versioned of them. So if you use SAP or use PeopleSoft or use some local application, make sure that you can control, who has access to that application and what they have access to. Very simple. Patch applications. So make sure, unless you need to otherwise do so, on all your users' computers, make sure that auto updates are turned on. Every Tuesday, Microsoft's going to ship a bunch of patches and updates. You can't keep up with it as a business owner. I can't keep up with it as an IT person. How many vulnerabilities are happening on these machines day after day after day? Just turn on auto updates. Let that thing auto update, and you'll get notified if there's a critical update, and let it update. So this is your patch applications. And if you're a little bit bigger business and you have, firewalls and you have, other things out there that may need manual patching, just make sure that's part of identifying your corporate applications. Make sure they're patched, because if you are attacked, it's usually by, when criminals actually do get in, say a phishing expedition, like the one I showed you of the lady with the Amazon Help Desk support. If that was a sophisticated criminal, they would have looked for vulnerabilities on that network and said, "Oh, we got this printer, or we've got this firewall, because I'm on the inside of the network, right? That's not patched, and now I can leverage this XYZ. Now I can set up persistence, and this is what the criminals want. They want to be able to get in your network and stay, because they want to root around. It's like robbing your house, right? If I can go rob your house and I know I've got 30 or 40 days to look in every drawer and every spot and every space in your entire property without you being noticing me, that's awesome. I can go find the most valuable stuff and get it out of there. Think of it that way. So make sure you patch. Just disable Microsoft Office macros. This was an old school way people got in. And user application hardening. Make sure you got multi-factor. Make sure your users know. Make sure you don't have unnecessary users accessing applications that you don't need. Make sure when you hire somebody and you create their logins to all these things, that when you fire them or they leave, that you remove. Another attack vector I've seen quite often is the threat actors will monitor LinkedIn. And whenever I say, "Hey, Andy's moved from AT&T, now he's working at Verizon," they'll notify me and say, "Hey, Andy, I'll give you $5,000 if you give me your old AT&T credentials that you used to have when you were on AT&T, and if those work, I'll give you an extra bonus of money." Well, if you're a don't have integrity and you're just non-integrity employee, disgruntled employee, I'm like, heck yeah, give me that $5,000. I'll give you my login name and password. And if you don't remove that information, then you're leaving yourself open for folks attacking you, right? If you don't, as a small business, remove access once an employee terminates with the company, you got to make sure that happens, because I've absolutely seen that happen where folks are followed on LinkedIn, and when they change companies, they've been contacted by threat actors because they worked at, say, Dow Chemical, if you can imagine something like that, and they said, "Hey, give me your username and password you used to use at Dow, and I'll see if they work, and I'll pay you a bunch of money if they do work." So you want to make sure you remove user access. Restrict admin privileges. I talked about that. Make sure you don't have local administrator rights. Make sure whoever does have admin to various applications, they need it. Patch the operating systems. Again, the Windows version, Windows, what we all use, Mac and so forth. Make sure you patch and leave automatic patches on. Multi-factor authentication, text message to your phone as a minimum, and then do daily backups. So if you take this list right here, small businesses out there, and just do these 8 things, and if you go Google Australian Essential 8, it'll give you more explanation of each one of these and what it's talking about and how you can help. Just do these 8 things. You're not going to become a victim of ransomware. You're not going to become a victim of somebody coming in and robbing you, and somebody, like I said, coming in and sitting in your house for 2 months at a time without you knowing it, and them finding everything that's valuable and then shipping it out. That's not going to happen to you because you've done these 8 small things. And these are not high budget items. If you look at all these, what's going to cost you? Well, you're probably going to need a good backup. You're going to need to invest some money in a backup. You're going to need to invest some money in multi-factor. And you're going to need to invest a little bit of money, maybe some application control or endpoint security. That's 3 buckets. Okay, it's not expensive. What is expensive is this incident response that I'm responding to right now, where somebody's got ransomware. That's probably going to cost them probably $30,000 by the time it's all said and done and we get the business restored. And not to mention their business is down for several days that they're responding to right now. It's not a trivial thing. So if you go invest the money right now for these very small things, listen to your IT staff or your IT person, or if you don't have an IT person, reach out to somebody like me or somebody that you trust, and implement these 8 simple things. These 8, okay. I'm happy to answer any questions on that as we move along. And I'm on the last couple here, guys. Individual security. If you get unsolicited calls, emails, text, a real easy litmus test is this. If this was my business, if I was Bank of America, if I really was the IRS, would I treat Andy this way? Would I scream at him? Would I tell him he's going to be arrested by the police? Would I tell him to go put $5,000 in a Bitcoin machine? Would I tell him to go buy me an Amazon gift card, or law enforcement's going to come get him? No, you wouldn't. You would not. You wouldn't do that if it was your business. So just a real easy litmus test is this call that I got legitimate? Would I treat my employees, would I treat my customers like this? No, you would not. Another a point of note is you will never, nobody here is ever going to get a proactive call from Microsoft, from Apple, from Amazon, from FedEx, from UPS, from anybody saying, hey, you've got a virus. Microsoft's not in that business. They're in the business to sell software. I can't tell you how many, unfortunately, elderly folks I've had that said, well, Microsoft just called me and said, I've got a virus and I need to go to this website. No, that's not Microsoft. Microsoft's not going to call you. Now, IRS is not going to call you and threaten you. They're not. And, for folks like that, I've got these calls before. I said, yeah, bring them on. Here's my address. Come on, let's go. I'll talk to them. That's fine. Send out the law enforcement. Arrest me. But be very skeptical. Don't ever trust caller ID. It's very trivial to spoof caller ID. In some of these demos, when I've got time, I will actually ask for somebody in the audience to give me their sons or their wives or their business phone number, and I can spoof that on the fly. Is it illegal? Yes, it's illegal to do that, but the criminals don't care about law anyway. But unfortunately, with voice over IP and all this moved to IP, it is a very trivial thing for me to make my phone number look like somebody that you would recognize. Okay. And so don't be very skeptical if there's some kind of call to you from somebody that you think and they ask you to go do something like buy Amazon gift card or do this or do that. Just call them back. They can't intercept calls going back to them. So all they're doing is spoofing a number that's sent to your phone. That's all that's happening. It's nothing rocket science. Just if you have a question, just hang up and say, okay, if this is truly my son calling, or this is truly law enforcement calling, I'm going to call back the law enforcement myself from my phone. Do it that way, and you'll find out. They're like, no, I didn't call you. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't tell you how many times that has happened as well. So, but don't ever give out your personal information to someone that has called you. So if your bank calls you and says, hey, I need you to verify with me your bank account number and that little 6-digit code I just sent you to your phone to make sure that this is you. No, say, oh, Bank of America, that's fine. Let me call you back. I'm going to get your number off the web page or off my checkbook or off my credit card. I'm going to call you back and we'll go through this process if we need to go through this process. And then the first thing you're going to hear start screaming at you saying, no, we got to do this now or I'm going to send law enforcement. Well, then you know. Okay. So here's some of the resources. Protecting your data. Any pop-up, just close the browser. Again, to reiterate what I talked about, just pop up, close it, close the window, disable notifications. Even though the data is in the cloud doesn't mean you don't need to back it up. I use QuickBooks for my business online. I still, on occasion, pull down the data. I'm not assuming that QuickBooks is, if something happens to them or, that my data is going to be there, I still do it. Always use two-factor. Use password manager. I use 1Password. So I want to talk about this real briefly. 1Password is an application that runs on your mobile, on your browser, and everything like that. You literally put in one single password, and that opens it up to all your other passwords. And I know we're kind of getting about 15 minutes to time here, but look into 1Password. This is another thing this is good for. I know people have been on through it. You have a family member or relative that's died, and God forbid your spouse. And you're like, I don't know what their passwords are. I don't know what their Facebook is. I don't know what their Instagram is. I don't know anything. Well, me and my wife and my family have one password. It's got several different vaults. I've got my own personal vault that's me, that is my password to say my forensics business or my business accounts. I got one that's shared between me and my wife that say our USA, bank account or a Home Depot account and those sort of things. That's a shared vault that me and her both can use the same login name and password. And then we have one for the whole family that is Hulu, Netflix, and those kind of things that we all share. I have my one password that gets in a really long. And when I tell people, when you use one password, when you use a password manager, use a sentence like "I live in Texas" with spaces and all of that. That's almost impossible to crack. But if you pull up one password, I highly recommend it. But then you can have vaults. So God forbid something happens to me and I die. My wife knows my long one password to get in my password manager. Plus, we've got shared vaults for our bank accounts, so I'm not shut out. I would tell you, my dad passed away during COVID, and it was a struggle to try to figure out, okay, what are his banks, what's his account information, how do we get into this stuff? We don't even know where anything is. And if you use one password, you can share it across with all family members. There's different packages. I think it's $50 a year, right? For a full family of 5, it's $50. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but I would tell you here recently, I helped a lady who was in her 80s that got it. So if I can help a lady in her 80s that's from that school of thought, and she can get into it and understand how to use one password, I promise everybody here can as well. Is it a bit of a pain in the butt? It is. But guess what? You start using that one password, you never ever in your life have to remember but one single password again. Every single website you go to from now on has a 12 or 24 digit gobbledygook password that you don't even know. I don't know any passwords to any of my websites. I don't know the password to my bank. I don't know the password to Home Depot. I have no idea I don't even know the password to Hulu because it's something 20 something characters long. I use one password to do my authentication for me. Okay. VirusTotal is basically an application you can snap in right now as an extension to your browser. So Google Chrome or Edge or whatever, or Firefox. And what this is every time I go to download a file or go to a web page, it'll notify me. It'll say, do you want me to scan this file and see if it's got a malware in it? Right. I can say yes or no. It's free. So I would do that. Have I been pawned? Go look at this. You can put in your email address on this, and you'll be surprised about how many times your email address has been compromised by how many companies. And it does tell you exactly on that page. It'll say, Aetna Health or whatever the case may be. Your username, your password, your social security number, your phone number, your home address was compromised in this breach. And I'm just going to have I been pawned. You can just put in your email address and it'll tell you. There's also a place on there which I recommend where you can type in your password. It's all hidden and hashed in the background where you don't see it. They don't see it, but they can tell if your password's been compromised as well that you use. I promise you it has, unless you're one of my passwords. None of my passwords have been compromised because they're 20 or 30 something characters long. I have no idea what they are. Malwarebytes is a good application I put on all my PCs here at the house and on my kids and my wife. It's a great application to put on your work machine. I think it's 40 or 50 bucks a year per person. Very, very good insurance and a really pretty decent app for stopping malware and that sort of things. Always use a VPN in a public place. So if you're at McDonald's or you're at Starbucks, this is less of an issue now that everything's encrypted. But if I go set in a McDonald's or I set in a Starbucks, I don't use public free Wi-Fi just as face value. I use Proton VPN. It's free as well. There's a lot of them out there, but I use a VPN just to encrypt my data as it goes through that public space. It's not hard, but I don't like the idea of any kind of data that might be possibly unencrypted without me being aware going across a public Wi-Fi network. Again, the chances are slim of something happening, but I err on the side of caution. Ransomware, data backup and recovery. So make sure you're backing your data up and making sure you are getting good solid backups, and make sure a good way if you're a small business to check once a week or once a month. Let's say once a month, go have if your IT guys aren't already doing it, go say, hey, I need you to restore this document for me from yesterday or 2 days ago. Please go do that for me, just to make, and then then that's how you can tell. Now, your IT staff should have a process where they are checking your backups, right? They should have that. And they should be checking it. Don't just blindly say I'm backing everything up and everything's good. And then it comes time to restore, you're like, oh crap, that drive's no good, or I wasn't actually backing up. Actually, I thought I was. Go restore. I mean, just go restore one single Word document. It's not that hard. And if you're leadership in a company, if you're a CEO or CIO or CTO, whatever, just go ask your IT guy, say, hey, in my home directory on Office 365, I've got a Word document that I accidentally deleted. Can you go pull that back for me, please? That'll check it. Make sure it's getting backed up. The second bullet I always use, because if I've got my credit card set up, if I charge one single dollar to them, I get a text message. So I go to the gas station, I put my credit card in that gas station. Before I even finish pumping gas, I've already got a text message saying, hey, you just charged, well, gas prices now $200 on your on your credit card at Valero. Is that you? And or just notifies me actually. But the reason I do this, I got scammed a few years ago at Costco in Plano of all places. Now USA returned my money, but not before I had $1,000 lifted out of my account. So from now on, what I do is so I don't charge, none of us are using our credit card 50 times a day, right? If you were, you may not want to do this. You may use it once or twice a day, but it's very comforting to me to know every time I make a charge on any of my cards, I get, if it's $1 or more, that I get a text message saying you just did this. I think that's to me, that's very comforting. So that's a setting in your security settings, and all of the accounts, all your banks will have this. We use 1Password. The way I forced my family to start using passwords, I changed the Hulu and Netflix passwords and said, well, it's in 1Password. You got to install it. And I'm not changing it again. It's there. So if they wanted to get on Netflix, they had to actually put in 1Password and use it. So that's how I forced the family to use. And everybody loves it. It is. I'll promise you, it's a little bit cumbersome, right? If you're not very techie, it's a little bit. You're scratching your head like, this is kind of a pain in the butt. But I promise you, once you start using it, after a week or two, all your passwords are now in 1Password, and you don't know what any of your sites are, and you've changed your password. You're like, oh my gosh, my life's so simple. I can delete this stupid Word document I've had on my desktop for 2 years. It has every password, every location on my that I use. So you get to delete that file that I know you have. I know you've got it because I've seen it. Use debit cards or credit. If I can't see my computer, I lock it. So especially if I'm on site with a customer, or I'm out somewhere, or I'm leaving my office in a public office building, I just lock my computer. It is trivial. If your machine is unlocked, I can walk up to your machine with a USB, and in a matter of 2 seconds, I can dump every password that you've got out of your browser, out of Google Chrome, in 2 seconds. I promise you, I know how to do it. That's part of my job. But if you have a machine somewhere like Windows, and you're sitting at Starbucks and you get up to go to the bathroom, and I'm a bad guy and I see that, oh, well, I see her Word document up. Oh, I got my little handy USB here that's already got this program on it to go pull all the passwords out of Google Chrome. I'm just going to stick that sucker in there, and within a matter of seconds, I got all your passwords. I stick it out, and you don't ever know what's happened. So lock it, especially at Starbucks or McDonald's. Don't get up and go to the bathroom and leave your machine open. It's like leaving your wallet on the table. Think of it that way. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't go to the McDonald's bathroom and leave your wallet or your purse sitting on the table at all. So think of your computer the same way, but your computer's got way more access to stuff than your wallet. So if you can't see it, lock it. And that's why. It is very trivial to pull all your passwords out of the browser if it's unlocked. And I'm not even kidding you. It's a matter of seconds. Multiple browser extension, malware, bytes, and virus total. Those are the resources, guys. We've got about 8 minutes left, and I hope this was productive for everybody. These are the resources I'm talking about. Have I been pawned? You get some time today, go to that. You'll be surprised. DuckDuckGo, I didn't talk about that. That's a private browser. All that is I don't like, if I go to Google and I type in vacations for Bermuda, that all of a sudden I've got Bermuda vacations popping up in my Facebook and Instagram and all of that. So I use DuckDuckGo. It kind of keeps that down to a little bit of a minimum. But my next talk in a couple of weeks is going to be how to decrease your digital footprint. And I'm going to give you a little teaser that nobody here probably knows. If you've got an Amazon account, I bet you all do. By default, if you put anything in your wish list, that is public information. I can go see what's in your wish list right now. and I'll show you how to turn that off in that class in 2 weeks.
Okay. Fortunately, I've already registered for that. I'm definitely going to need that one for sure. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and like raise your hand or put something in the chat. I've been watching chat. Um, Kay says, thank you, Andy et al. Great information. Will this be sent to us or a recording made available, which we can refer back to later? Absolutely. We're going to have it on our YouTube channel, and we'll make sure that you have a link to our YouTube channel. That's where you can access all of the webinars we've done over the past few years, all kinds of topics that you can find there. But yes, this will be there just shortly by the end of the day, I promise. Uh, a couple of comments. Again, if anybody has questions, just put it in the chat. I'm watching. I just want to say, my LinkedIn account was hacked years ago, and I called LinkedIn to try to get it restored, find out what I needed to do. Do you know they asked me for a copy of my driver's license?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said, no, no.
Yeah. It's bad. It's if you get your accounts compromised. I'm actually helping somebody right now with identity theft that got her, unfortunately got her Verizon business that she had all of her employees' phones tied to, got compromised, and she's locked out. And there's some
Oh,
weird people showing up as administrators of it, and weird phone numbers, and we're having to go through insane amount of stuff. Like she's got to show up in person with ID, even though she's got a number, she's no longer the administrator. So they basically, what it appears is this identity theft for her Verizon business that has all of her employees' mobile phones. She was deleted as the administrator account, and basically somebody else has put it into the administrator, and she's not the administrator anymore. Then she's having to go through fraud and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it is
wow.
nuts. She did not have multi-factor turned on that thing. So she could log in with a username and a password that was very simple to log into her Verizon business account, sadly. And yeah.
Wow. You made a quick statement there, and I'm going to quit talking here shortly. Uh, you said something about backing up like QuickBooks and maybe thinking you backed it up and you didn't. Um,
Yep.
that happened to
Yep.
me. Honestly, I thought I was backing it up every month, every month. I was not. I lost all of the QuickBooks, and this was for an organization that had been in place for many years. So I had to scramble around. I was able to recreate it, but I ended up having to recreate completely at least 2 months worth of data. So I made sure every time I did something in QuickBooks, I backed it up to an external drive. I knew it was going there. So, oh my gosh, yeah. Um,
That happens a lot. People find out their backups aren't working when it's the worst time to find out, when you need them. That's when they
exactly.
find out, crap, that did not work. I wasn't backing up actually.
Exactly, exactly. Well, I just wanted to point out I've shared my screen with you, and it's talking about the upcoming webinars. Please take a look at those. There's 5 additional fantastic webinars coming up that Andy's doing for us, and you can actually access the webinars from this slide by using that QR code up there. It will take you straight to our website, and look for the buttons that says upcoming training events, and you can register there. That's going to take you to our Eventbrite page where you can just register there. We look forward to having everyone join us. And I thank everyone here that has joined us. It has been great. You will be receiving a survey, and we would appreciate your response because we're always looking for a way to improve our programs. Um, I mentioned the QR code that will take you to our SBDC website. there's another thing, other things that you can find there. You can register for the webinars. You can get our contact information as well. You can schedule an appointment with an advisor, and there's a lot of resources already out there for you that are available by just accessing our website. I want to thank all of our benefactors. These are folks that keep us in business: the Small Business Administration, the state of Texas, the North Texas SBDC Regional Office, and the North Central Texas College, they are our gracious host. Anybody have any other questions, comments, anything?
Angie, this is Lori from the SBDC. Fantastic information. We appreciate you so much, and lots of good information, lots of good links, and we look forward to the next one.
Great. Yeah. And just a teaser for the next one again, your Amazon wish list is public and you don't even know it. I'm going to tell you how to fix some of that stuff.
All right, so I'm
promise
hoping
you
you
it
will
is.
look it up and send me something, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Only if somebody else is paying for the items on my wish list do I
You
want it
got
to
it.
be public.
You got
So,
it.
well, thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next time. And this will end our webinar for today. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.
And happy 4th of July to everyone. Awesome.